Every Social Security break-even calculator is giving you the wrong answer. Not because the math is broken, because the life expectancy table they're using isn't yours. Today, why the Social Security math is structurally different for women, the one check reality that costs married women the most, and how to decide when to claim if you have $1.5 million or more in assets. Let's go. I'm Hazel Secco, CFP and CDFA. I run Align Financial Solutions, a fee-only fiduciary firm for women. Quick note on who this episode is built for. If you're a woman in your 40s or 50s, you've done a lot right with your money, you're 5 to 15 years from the retirement date you actually want, and you have investable assets outside of Social Security, this episode is for you. Pillar 1, the life expectancy gap, why the break-even math is wrong for you. Here's how Social Security actually works quickly. You have 3 claiming windows. Age 62 is the earliest you can claim. If you claim at 62, your benefit is permanently reduced. It's reduced by about 30%. Full retirement age, FRA, is 67. That's when you get 100% of your calculated benefit. Age 70 is the latest meaningful claim age, and your benefit is 24% higher. Here's where the standard break-even math enters. If you claim at 62, you'll collect checks for 8 years before your hypothetical age 70 counterpart starts. The textbook answer is usually around 80 to 82, meaning if you live past 82, delaying wins. And if you die before 82, claiming early wins. Here's the problem. That break-even age is calculated using a unisex or male-weighted life expectancy table. The SSA's own actuarial life tables show that a woman who reaches 65 has a life expectancy of roughly 85 to 87. For women with a socioeconomic profile of my client base, the conditional life expectancy is materially higher, meaning a woman in my client base who's 55 today has a realistic planning horizon into her early to mid-90s. And the answer for most women in your position is as large as possible, which usually means age 70. Pillar 2, the survivor's one check reality, the single biggest variable nobody talks about. If you're married, this next section is the most important Social Security information you will hear all year. It's called the survivor benefit. When one spouse dies, the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the 2 Social Security benefits, not both. The higher one, the smaller one disappears. Run that through with me. If your husband's benefit at FRA is $3,800 a month and yours is $2,400 a month, and he passes first, you keep $3,800 and you lose your $2,400. Your household goes from $6,200 a month in Social Security income to $3,800. You lost a smaller check. Now, run it the other direction, the direction most couples don't plan for. If you pass first, your husband keeps his $3,800 and your $2,400 disappears. Same mechanic, but here's where the math becomes gendered. Statistically, women outlive their husbands by an average of 5 to 7 years, which means the surviving spouse in your household is far more likely to be you, which means the size of your husband's eventual Social Security benefit, the one you will inherit and live on for 5, 7, 10 years after he's gone, is a function of his claiming age, not yours. This is a survivor's one check reality. For a married couple, the most tax inefficient, math inefficient thing the higher earning spouse can do is claim Social Security at 62. The cleanest strategy for a married couple in my client base is almost always the higher earner delays to 70 to maximize the survivor benefit. The lower earner claims at FRA or earlier depending on cash flow needs. That's not a guidance, that's the default. And then we look for reasons to deviate from it. The reasons to deviate are narrow. Serious health issue with a higher earner that shortens his life expectancy. Unusual income disparity, specific tax situations, those are conversations that have to happen with numbers on the table, not as general advice. But the default, higher earner delays to 70 is the single biggest planning lever for married women in their 50s. It's a decision your husband makes, and it's a decision that shapes your income in your 80s and 90s more than almost anything else. If you're listening to this and you haven't had this conversation with your husband, pause the episode and put it on the calendar. If you're single, divorced, or widowed, the math is the same, but the variable is yours alone. Same logic, delay if you can. Pillar 3, the asset-based question, how $1.5 million changes the answer. Most people can't delay Social Security to 70. They can't afford to. You can. If you have $1.5 million or more in investable assets, you have what's called a bridge. You can retire at 62 or 64 or 66 and fund your lifestyle from your portfolio until Social Security kicks in at 70. Here's why this matters. If you claim Social Security at 62, you've just added $25,000 to $40,000 of taxable income every year for the rest of the window. In other words, claiming Social Security early doesn't just permanently reduce your benefit, it also steals the tax planning window from you for the next 8 years. Delaying to 70 does the opposite. Before I close, the cases where delaying to 70 is not the move. You have a serious health condition, your portfolio is tight, and bridging 8 years from retirement to 70 would force portfolio withdrawals at unsustainable rates. In that case, there may be a middle ground claim at 66, 67, 68, delay as long as you can, not necessarily all the way to 70. You're single with no children and no survivor considerations. Most women in my client base don't fall into any of these exceptions. For most, delay is the answer. Delaying Social Security to 70 is a decision you make in your early 60s that pays off in your 80s and 90s. The discipline of delaying, especially when your husband delays too, is the single most consequential retirement income decision most women make. And it's a decision you make with a version of yourself who can't yet imagine being 85. Make the decision for her. 2 things you can do after this episode. First, if you want to know where you actually stand on Social Security timing, Roth conversions, and the other 7 decisions that shape your retirement income, the free retirement readiness assessment walks through them in about 10 minutes. Link is in the show notes. Second, if you want me to run your specific Social Security situation against your portfolio, your spouse's benefits, and your tax picture, the Align call is 15 minutes. You'll leave the call knowing whether delaying is the move for you. Link is right next to the assessment. Next episode, sequence of returns risk. The reason the first 5 years of your retirement matter more than the next 25, and why a market drop at the wrong moment can take a decade off your retirement even if your long-term return is perfectly fine. See you there.